Google I/O 2024 introduced significant advancements in AI with the new Gemini 1.5 Flash, capable of efficient handling high volume tasks, enhancements in Gemini Nano, and the debut of Project Astra highlight multimodal capabilities, allowing interactions through text, images, and spoken language. The event also showcased Imagen 3 for photorealistic image generation and VO for high quality video creation. Updates in Google Search with AI overviews and the new Android features like real time phishing detection and advanced AI integration were also announced. That and many, many more stories tonight. You're listening to Geek News Central, episode 1743, coming to you this Thursday, May 16th. I'm your host, Todd Cochran. A big shout out to our primary sponsor at GoDaddy.com. Grab their deals at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. And of course, to all of our awesome listeners, you're the real MVPs. Contribute your time, talent, or treasure at geeknewscentral.com/insider by becoming a GNC Insider. We're live and lit with modern podcast apps from podcastapps.com. Join the live show via one of those modern podcast apps and join our value for value movement by downloading and using a modern podcast app. Of course, you can dive into our digital hub. Very, very simple to do. All you got to do is go over to geeknewscentral.com. And don't forget to check out our partner shows, all linked on the website. And don't forget to follow or subscribe to your favorite modern podcast app and sign up for the newsletter while you're at the site. Of course, you can join the chat room at geeknews.chat. If you have feedback, you can drop me an email, geeknews@gmail.com, or catch me on X at geeknews, or of course, or find me on Facebook. And of course, a massive salute to GoDaddy, the longest running continuous sponsor of a podcast. Yes, the longest running sponsor. And technically, we are just a few days away from 19 years of GoDaddy supporting the podcast, and we definitely appreciate it and hope that you will consider supporting GoDaddy. They've got a great lineup of products and services, and all you got to do is go over to geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. This is where savings begin. Lock in a deal today, whether it be $11.99 for a brand new domain name or $6.99 or $12.99 respectively a month for economy hosting or managed WordPress hosting. Again, $6.99 a month economy hosting or $12.99 a month managed WordPress hosting. It includes a free domain name, professional email, and an SS certificate for the very first year. You can also get a free trial of GoDaddy Website Builder, your choice of personal business or business plus plans. These deals can be found at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. Tell your friends, family members, people that you know. Don't write it on the bathroom wall, but we definitely want you to share our promo codes. It's just like making an in-kind donation to the podcast. Anytime you send someone over to grab and use one of my codes, your support of this show and this sponsor keeps this podcast online and the independent writing team employed. You support a small group of independent content creators using one of our promo codes. I hope you'll support us in that effort. And thank you for being so supportive over the years. And again, share these codes. And make sure you're always subscribed to this podcast to get all the latest tech news. GoDaddy.com has helped thousands of our listeners save thousands of dollars each month with our non-expiring promo codes. Again, receive a significant savings using these promo codes, so the best value available. Plus, again, you help us by sharing them with your friends and family. Thank you for GoDaddy for being a longtime sponsor here at Geek News Central. So I hope everyone's doing good. Here's the deal. I was looking at the calendar. I don't know how I'm going to make it up because what's happening is I leave for London on Saturday. So I'll be in London all next week, flying back to Michigan on Friday of next week. Then my Memorial Day is on Monday. So typically no show on Memorial Day. And the following Thursday, I'm in the air again. So I'm gonna do something. I'll make it up to you. But yeah, it's a couple of weeks off. But I'll be back with you right before my birthday. But again, don't normally like to let you all go for that long without an episode. So maybe I can drop something. And I've got some topics in my head that I want to talk about that maybe I could do an ad lib show that might be fun, kind of unscripted and not the formal process here. But leaving the studio, we're going to be leaving the studio for 2 full months. The show will be produced like it normally is, starting the first week of June. So just be aware of that. Be on every episode, be on schedule. And, but yeah, part of my ongoing initiatives to not be 100% locked to the studio at all times. And I hope that you all will appreciate it. I will try to bring some video elements. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to be playing around with some stuff. I've got a whole kit bag packed out, ready to take the show on the road and be remote. And it should be a lot of fun for at least 16 episodes before I come back here at the very end of July. So I know it's only May 16th, and we're talking about doing the show all the way out to the end of July. But that's where we're at. It's just a combination of things happening here, unexpected trip to Philippines. So, but anyway, thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the family, and thanks for staying subscribed to the podcast. I want to talk a little bit about the Google I/O. And there was a moment on which I really had chills that went down the spine of my back about search. And it's something that has me, I guess for a better word, overly concerned. And probably rightfully so. I think if any of you have used Perplexity, there is, it's basically a search engine without a search engine. It basically, you type in a query, it gives you a AI type of response with some resources. Well, the days of having a search result that comes back with links, I think is soon to be over. And while this may not matter if you do not run a business, if you are just using a variety of apps and don't use Google very much, I know some of you are going on TikTok to find your information. Some of you are using Instagram. And there's a variety of ways where people find information today that doesn't result in going to Google. But if you're a small business, maybe Yelp is the app that gets people into your door. But when I travel and I'm looking for a place to go, or I'm looking for information, it's usually, give me locations near me. And sometimes I use Yelp, different variety of things. But if you're a business like mine online and your world is 100% digital and you rely on search traffic for customers to learn about, new customers to learn about you, what happens when the AI is now what is going to be giving the recommendations and the ability of Google and others to essentially step on the scales? Let's be kind of frank. Google is gotten very, very large, and maybe too large, and too much traffic is being controlled by them. The only way going forward that you can almost be guaranteed to be found is if you play their SEM game. In other words, you do Google AdWord or Google Ads and spend big piles of cash. And it's okay if you spend those big piles of cash and there is a return and you keep a cost per acquisition below what you need it to be to make it worth advertising. But in this day and age, things have gotten so crazy in the search world, and Google, the way they play their little games, is they play one against the other. So if three of my competitors are spending 10, 15, 20, $30,000 a month for search engine traffic, we're all bidding against each other, and Google's in the middle of this, encouraging this bidding war. And this is why there's so much antitrust that's going around Google Ads. There's no transparency. And you don't know if you're bidding against the computer or if you're actually bidding against your competitors. And if Google search is going to change so that links are no longer found, what does it mean for Geek News Central? I've relied heavily for years for you to come to my website. I hit that hammer about the brand every episode, and I have for 1,700 plus episodes. GeekNewsCentral.com, go to the website, interact. This is where you go. This is Moonbase Alpha. And for you that are listening that have found me, you know where to go. But someone that's new that I want to try to get a new listener to the show, what if you ask a search engine, tell me about let's just say it's a story. What was my lead story the last episode? Well, it was about OpenAI's GPT-4o. And what if the language model has been built and it's 6 months ago, the last time the database has been updated, and I write about OpenAI's GPT-4o and the search engine doesn't know anything about my article because the model hasn't been updated. Now, I'm sure they're going to figure this out to keep current. But as a blogger, am I still going to retain traffic to my website that I heavily depend upon for new listeners of this show? Am I going to have a show discovery issue? There's lots of tech shows out there. Is it only going to talk about the top 10 in some list somewhere? So we've talked about this before on the strategy of potentially having to go wide and doubling the work, having to go and have an account on Medium, be on Reddit, have all these places where your word and your brand is built so that as the models go in and index those sites, it says, oh, here's Todd, here's Todd, here's Todd, here's Todd. There's a tech show. He must be important. Or here's my company's website. Here's information about them. Here's someone's. Is it going to turn into a game in which you have to play the wide game and start getting access and getting articles on a variety of different websites, which can, is it going to be pay to play where we're going to have to pay to get our message wide? Is that going to have to be the strategy going forward? Well, I'm sure they're going to be on the lookout for this, these scam articles. I really, at this point, don't know which way this is going to go. I have a feeling, and usually when I have a feeling, it's not a good feeling. I usually know that, this might go sideways. I'm sure all of you are already kind of suffering a little bit of AI exhaustion. There's a lot going on. And, new models, what's the capabilities? And, it becomes this, even for me, I'm following it pretty tight. It's caused me some anxiety. Which should I be using? What should I be testing on? The models are changing slightly. Even in our AI deployment at Blueberry, we're watching things as we upgrade to different models. We're watching the results, watching the outputs, making sure everything's working the way it should and as designed. And I guess we'll see. We'll see where this leads. But I'm concerned, and anyone that owns a business or has a website that is truly, truly reliant upon discovery, I think it could be rough waters ahead. I really do. What say you? What are your thoughts? What are your plans? How are the companies you're working at? How are they adjusting How are they thinking about this? Are they talking about this? Are they talking about the change into way we use the web? And again, I think if I talk to 18 to 30-year-olds, they probably don't use Google search at all. They use an app because they're on their phones. They don't use a desktop browser as much. Maybe they do for work, but they're not on TikTok on their laptop. They're not on Instagram on their laptop. They're on their mobile device. So, this is why Google is basically scores everything mobile first, because this transition has already happened. But the search transition is something yet we really haven't completely seen. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Fighting a cough here. Well, Samsung came out and basically slapped Apple. Samsung has kicked Apple when it's down with a new ad after iPad Pro controversy, and it's really kind of funny. They show, it's called Uncrush. It says, "We would never crush creativity," Samsung mogul, and they show their Galaxy Tab S9 commercial where a gal is walking through the debris from the iPad Pro smashing, picks up the half-burnt, half-smashed guitar, starts thumbing it and trying to get it in tune, and then, lo and behold, it's being recorded via a Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 with Galaxy AI on board. So just a little bit, and they turned this bad boy out quick. They said there's an opportunity here, and never let a good crisis go to waste. So I have to give it to Samsung for what they did. One thing I found interesting is an article over in CNET talking about half of ACP users are military families. And I'm like, huh? So I never, ever got a discount for my internet when I was in the military. But according to this article, the Affordable Connectivity Program is near its end, and military families make up nearly half of the ACP recipients. This blows me away. That means that more than 10 million veterans, service members, and families will see internet bills increase. Now, I could see some veterans taking advantage of this, but most active duty members are making a decent wage, and I would be surprised if they qualified for ACP. Some veterans will have to pay $30 to $75 more for access to the internet every month, and others may lose access to internet entirely, according to the Department of Veteran Affairs. According to a recent study published in Annals of Internal Medicine, video-based health tech visits for nearly 12% of outpatients, which I can see. But again, I was pretty surprised that this would affect military folks that much. But according to Cox, anyone who receives a VA pension and survivor's benefit is eligible to take advantage of Cox Assist Plan. Provide speeds up to 100 Mbps for $30 a month, which is $20 less than Cox charges for the same speeds. Well, I was like, wow, I wonder if I could have been getting a discount. Starlink doesn't technically offer a military discount, but Home Depot does, and you can use it to get 10% off Starlink's $599 dish. Starlink's monthly price is still on the high side, of course, but it talks about the different offers that Verizon and Infinity did. Now, T-Mobile, for a very, very long time, gave me a whopping $10. I got $10 off my T-Mobile account for being a veteran. They ended that some time ago. I don't get that discount anymore. But again, I was pretty surprised on this ACP for veterans. NASA researchers have bid farewell to a flying laboratory at Ames Research Center, but never fear, they're getting a 777 to replace it. For many years, NASA scientists flying aboard a decked-out DC-8, yes, a DC-8, provided them some unique glimpses of Earth, the Moai on Easter Island, Central Park in New York, and Mount Vesuvius in Italy. I used to fly scientists around at the Naval Research Lab, and they were NOAA folks. And we would go out and basically measure water temperature all over the world, which was kind of weird. But on Wednesday, some of the same scientists who worked on that flying laboratory looked on as it made its last flight from Mountain View to its retirement location somewhere at a aviation school. And the plane owned by NASA was one of 7 DC-8 still in operation internationally. Tom Matthews, lead operations engineer for aircraft, said that NASA used the planes for 37 years, but the aging aircraft needed to be replaced as it was getting hard to sustain, of course. A brand new Boeing 777 will replace the DC-8, which will retire the aircraft to a maintenance school at Idaho State University. So again, they're getting a beautiful new 777 and replace them with a DC-8. I think that's a pretty nice upgrade. I don't think they're going to be too worried about seeing that DC-8 go bye-bye. And considering the cost to maintain a DC-8, my God, it's hard to believe that the government went with that aircraft as long as they did. Their maintenance costs per hour was as much as it cost to fly it. I'm sure. So with social engineering going on so heavily, what should you be watching out for? Number one, if you get a message that has a sense of urgency. Hi, Jim. I'm stuck abroad in Spain and I need you to send me some money right away. Probably a scam. Number two, an appeal to your feelings. And one example given by Sherrod DeGrippo, Director of Threat Intelligence Strategy at Microsoft, will receive an email about divorce paperwork for review. For a married person, this phony message can inspire panic and a click on the malware link, but even a single person could have infected with dangerous software. In other words, you get an email that's quote unquote supposedly from your wife saying, "Here's the divorce papers, honey. Please click and review." And, people would be definitely freaked out on that. So don't click on stuff. Or you get a message that's like, "Hey, your parcel was returned to our depot after failed delivery. Click here to rearrange your delivery." I get these a lot. I get a lot of postal scam messages. And it comes in from, some unknown number. But they're always saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm not getting anything from the U.S. Post Office. I know where my packages are being sent from and tracked from." So, again, these are some of the things that scammers are doing to adapt or basically garner you with emotion to click on their link. Your Chromecast and LG TV might soon get a major Google Home upgrade. Select Google and LG TVs are set to become home hubs later this year. As part of the I/O 2024, Google has announced a slew of upgrades. First, the big announcement is Google is opening up its Google Home smart home network to app creators. And again, this is going to be, these pushes are going to happen in the devices that you own already. Just be aware of it when you get the upgrades. Read what the upgrade is about. I don't know. Any of you using Google Home? So I often cringe at the PR stuff that companies do. So all of us live in Beverly Hills, right? Well, at a Beverly Hills mansion, yes, a mansion in Beverly Hills that 99.99% of us cannot afford to live in, they had an electric truck parked in the garage. And they staged a blackout to demonstrate how EVs can power an entire home and also shore up our aging grid infrastructure. Notice there's a little scare there, our aging grid infrastructure. Well, the solar flare didn't take our grid out, so I guess that was pretty good, right? As sunset fell across the Hollywood Hills, the chief engineer from General Motors flipped the breaker and disconnected the 5-bedroom home from the grid. The lights went out, and less than 20 seconds later, GM's home system powered it back up, pulling just 5 kilowatt or less from the fully charged Chevy Silverado EV parked in the garage. When the lights came back on, the small crowd of elite journalists and GM Energy employees clapped as if they were expecting electricity for the first time. If a person has a multi-million-dollar luxury home in Beverly Hills, you can be absolutely, unequivocally guaranteed they have a backup generator already. They're not going to worry about their Chevy Silverado parked in the garage, connected to a $13,000 kit to make sure that you can power your house in a power outage with your electric vehicle. What happens when that power goes out for 2 or 3 days and you run your car out? Then you can't even go and get milk. I really, this scenario. Okay, why don't you show us camping in the Silverado and having electricity camping? No. You got to sell you a house package. That's what's got to happen. Got to send you a house package here. So, it's just like, I wish I'd have got invited to that boondoggle. I bet you the snacks were fantastic. Meanwhile, over at Nissan, data breach impacts 53,000 employees. Nissan North America determined recently that a ransomware attack launched last year resulted in employee personal information and compromise. A threat actor had gained access to its systems through an external VPN. The attacker did not encrypt data or disrupt any systems, but it did steal files from local and network shares. So 53,000 Nissan employees affected. The iPhone 16? Now, let's be frank. The iPhone is pretty big. I've had an iPhone for many, many years. About every 3 years or so, I upgrade now. It used to be 2. Now it's 3 plus. And the phone is pretty big. Well, the iPhone 16 Pro Max could get bigger. The iPhone 15 Pro Max measures 6.7 inches diagonally, and the new one might go to, the Apple's upcoming iPhone 16 Pro Max will have a significantly bigger display. And by how much? Does it says? The iPhone 16 Pro Max had a 16.9 inch display. It would just be an inch smaller than the first 5 iPad mini models, which had 7.9. So I guess going from 6.7 to 6.9. So a little bigger. So is bigger better? Well, that's for your determination. But anyway, that's what is potentially going to happen with the iPhone 16. The president is seeking to bolster solar manufacturers with tax and trade moves. The administration is initiating a suite of policies that says will help foster a deep domestic supply chain of solar panels. The measure announced today included expanded tariffs, tax policy guidance that could boost demand for some U.S.-made solars. How much did they increase the tariff by? The announcement came as the president projects, keyword is projects, a tough on China election year stance. So the Biden administration said it will swiftly end a policy that allows two-sided or bifacial solar panels to avoid called the Section 201 safeguards currently set at 14.25, which was set by President Trump. How much did they increase it to? They don't say. They don't say what they increased the tariff to. Just said they're going to increase the tariff. Well, how much did you increase the tariff? Why would you not say? If you're going to be tough on China, then what's the increase? The minister said it will swiftly end a policy that allows two-sided or bifacial solar panels to avoid called the so-called Section 201 safeguard tariff, currently set at Okay. It was extended under the President Biden. Initially cast as a modest but essential safety valve to ensure large utility solar projects could procure the gear it now become widely used. So it really doesn't say. I just don't get it. So I guess there's more tariffs, but to what extent, I can't tell you because it hasn't been shared. Visa, your Visa card that you have in your pocket, adds new ways to share customer shopping data with retailers. Say what, you say? Visa is rolling out new technology that will allow the payment giant to share more information about customers' preferences based on their shopping history with retailers as it seeks to remain a top player in the competitive e-commerce space. The data will be shared via the payment giant's proprietary tokens, which provide a layer of security between a consumer's bank information and a merchant. Shopping inclinations and other information based on past transactions, such as preferred categories like movies or golf or brands, will be shared via token with retailers with the consent of consumers. Now, how is that consent going to come? I'm going to tell you how it's going to come. It's going to come in the form of a letter that you're going to get from your card provider. It's going to say, "Hey, to better serve you, we want to share more data about you," but it won't say it that way. It's going to be buried in page 82 of some new terms of service that you'll have to agree upon to keep your credit card. Yes, I'm being a little snarky. Remember, you are the product, ladies and gentlemen. We all are. Now, this next one is a little bit, it's got me bugged. How many of you, how long's it been since the iPhone 7 came out? Is that like 8 years ago? How long has it been since the iPhone 7 was released? You could be eligible for a piece of the Apple's $35 million iPhone 7 settlement. This is a June 3rd deadline for people affected by iPhone 7 audio issues. Does anyone have an iPhone 7 that's even working anymore? Listen to this. Customers have used one of the devices between the dates of September 16, 2016 and January 3rd, 2023 are potentially eligible to make a claim, but the requirements are pretty strict. Eligible parties fall into one of two groups: people who paid out of pocket for repairs on their iPhone 7 or 7 Plus due to audio issues, or customers who are on the books as having reported a problem they didn't pay for a repair. How many of you can even remember that? I think they're going to get like $10 probably out of this. It's a really late settlement for something very, very old. Apple's okay. We'll put up $35 million. Knowing that they're only going to have to probably pay about $1,000. Who can remember? Airbus has a new helicopter, sort of. It's called Racer. It's half plane, half helicopter, and it's super fast. It traveled at 400 knots. And I'm looking at this thing and I'm thinking, if you don't get killed by the rotor, you'll get killed by the props. This thing is a walking time bomb from a safety standpoint. It looks cool. It really does. But I would hope they would not let anybody in this thing until the props are turning. But it looks like a regular helicopter, but it's got some wings and some motors on it. It's really, truly wild how it looks. So for those of you that are aviation enthusiasts, definitely check that out. Hey, when being that I'm going to London, I asked for some places to go and heard that RAF has a wonderful museum about an hour outside of London. I'm going to really try to go to that museum. It's been 20 years since I've been in London, so I literally have no idea where to go. I've never been by the Buckingham Palace or anything like that, so I might do that. I might do the true tourist thing, but the aviation museum sounds really, really interesting. Japan's Toshiba said on Thursday it will cut 4,000 jobs as the industrial conglomerate accelerates restructuring under the new ownership. So, 4,000 people, bye-bye, your jobs are gone. Meanwhile, the BBC has absolutely spectacular NASA footage of solar activity behind the recent fireworks coming off the moon. Oh my God. Fireworks coming off the sun. Off the moon. Yeah, that was a good one. So with these extreme geomagnetic storms, what was it called? C5, E5, something like that, leading to some spectacular aurora borealises. This escalation in charged particles hitting the Earth is because the sun is near solar maximum. And hard to believe it. We've been doing this show long enough that this will be the second solar maximum we will have seen. We're just coming off one when the show started. So 11 or 12-year cycle. But yeah, we took a mass coronal ejection straight in the face here recently. So a very, very cool BBC article. I'll have the link up in the show notes for you to review. Also, a little more science news. Black holes observed colliding when the universe was only 740 million years old. Look back in time, the James Webb Space Telescope revealed the merger of this. This discoveries of this massive mergers appear to have been common in the infant universe and could help explain how supermassive black holes like the one at the heart of the Milky Way achieved such tremendous proportions. So a link will be up in the show notes for you to review that. So for those of you that do a lot of tickets, go to a lot of concerts, the U.S. House of Representatives has passed the Ticket Act to create transparency in pricing. Yeah, good luck on that. The bill's received a substantial amount of bipartisan support, 338 to 24. It comes after the House Energy and Commerce Committee and unanimously approved the bill 45 to 0. It will, of course, now need to move through the Senate before the president signs it into law, and there's currently no floor vote in place for the measure. So it could die in the Senate. So they're trying to create some transparency. When you go to Ticket Hub to buy a ticket, and you're buying that $72 concert ticket, it ends up being $836. So they're trying to get that squared away. This is, having been involved in government for literally 35 years, Navy, my working after I retired and things that I've done, one thing I always learn is that the government has sandboxes. In other words, this group does this. This is their little sandbox. And don't you dare come into my sandbox, or don't you touch my sandbox, or don't you mess with my sandbox, or don't you try to throw policy at my sandbox. This is my sandbox. And these agencies are all very, 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 very protective of their sandbox, because the sandbox is tied to funding. It's tied to employees. It's tied to staffing. It's how much money you're going to have in the budget to do crazy things. Well, this article does not surprise me at all. Lawmakers fret over who will report foreign election interference. When the U.S. government has credible evidence of foreign nation interfering in American election, who is responsible for sounding the alarm? And what processes are in place to ensure it's done in a responsible, nonpartisan manner? This is the question that they're trying to answer right now. DIA has testified. Large number of other agencies have testified. Who should have this? So I think there's concerns on all parties. Concerns regarding political blowback echo the findings of the Department of Homeland Security-led task force that conveyed to consider disinformation in 2018. One official concluded that we're fairly certain that in a lot of contexts, we are not the right messenger to deliver warnings about information operations. DIA Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, said when the U.S. government When relevant intelligence is collected concerning a foreign influence operation aimed at election, there exists a notification network that ensures appropriate notice is given to those who are being targeted so that they can take action. Haynes said most of those notifications are not public, but added there are scenarios in which public notifications are appropriate, including when doing so would render the foreign influence operation less effective. At the RSA conference in San Francisco earlier this year, who's this Warner person? Senator Warner praised the Trump administration's speedy public notification of influence campaign linked to the Iranian government in the lead up to the 2020 election, told reporters he believes the Biden administration will be more proactive this cycle if evidence emerges. I would think they would be. But they can't figure out who is going to be the lead and who should be the nonpartisan to be able to do reporting. Well, therein lies the issue, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if the government can get out of its own way, to be quite frank. What say you? Who should be in charge? FBI? CIA? Some watchdog? Some special agency? The CIA? Who should be in charge? Not that any of those people there are political at all, both left and right. Big, big problem. Google Workspace and Gmail mobile apps are getting some major Gemini updates, but you'll need to pay. So you need to pay. Yes, pay. Gemini for Google Workspace has arrived. I think it's $20 a month. Yeah, $19.99. I'm testing in Gmail, and I've really only found a few small, effective use cases. I was working on a doc, and I wrote what I needed to write. I got all done, and all of a sudden, I had something new show up where it said, check me, and it said, here's the rewrite we're suggesting. And the rewrite was pretty good. And I said, okay, replace. And I took the time to make sure I read every word very, very carefully to see it didn't change the meaning. So this is my first experience in a Google Doc of seeing Gemini at work, and not bad, but again, limited use cases, at least for me at this point. So Intel this week announced new Thunderbolt software. You said Thunderbolt? New Thunderbolt software made for connecting two PCs. Thunderbolt Share will require Intel licensed hardware and is looking to make it simpler to do things like transferring large files from one PC to another or working with two systems simultaneously. For example, you could use a Thunderbolt cable to connect one lap to another and then configure the system so that your keyboard, mouse, and monitor work with both computers. Thunderbolt Share also enables dragging, dropping, and syncing files between computers, which sounds pretty cool. The app has similar functionality to a KVM switch or apps like PC Mover, Logitech Full, Emma, Mac OS file sharing, and screen sharing. So this is Thunderbolt 5, and so we'll see. How many are you still getting Thunderbolt connections? You might be thinking, great, I have a Thunderbolt 4 desktop and laptop I'd love to connect right now, but no hardware you own will officially support Thunderbolt Share as it requires an Intel license, will cost OEMs an extra fee. That means you'll need a new computer or dock, which Intel says will start releasing this year. Thunderbolt Share will not be part of the Thunderbolt 5 spec. So very, very interesting. A USB 4 may work as well. So, okay. Haven't heard Thunderbolt in a long time. HR expert says business leaders are scared. Return to office mandates have led to staff attrition. To a Gartner study, 3,500 employees in the tech industry undertaken in November, 19% of non-executives said they'd quit over a return to office mandate, and an even larger proportion in management position expressed similar sentiment, while 58% of executives with the mandate to return to office said their organization provided a convincing reason. Many senior leaders are unwilling to come back into the office. In another Gartner poll run in September, 170 HR heads, some 63% voiced higher expectations of staff coming back. To the traditional workspace, 34% said a mandated return was already in place, and 13% warned that consequences not complying was intensified. Dell, Meta, IBM, Google, and many others have started to monitor the presence of employees at their desks. Wow. So people don't like going back to work after being able to work from home. Microsoft users, Microsoft PC Manager app, bizarrely, is suggesting that Bing as a Windows fix-all. The PC Manager app is an optional app users can download from the Microsoft Store and boosts features like one-click boost, storage cleanup, file management, and protection of your default settings from unauthorized change. It's been around since October 2022, but given it's not including Windows 11 by default and seemingly limited use, it really hasn't garnered much attention. The app's interesting recommendation was first discovered by Windows' latest after the app was updated to include a repair tip. The rest was able to reproduce it. Users who change their default search engine in the Edge browser will see a notification under the repair tip to reset start page to a new tab page and search engine back to Bing. They want to get you off Chrome or even their own Edge. Disney, Fox, and WBD unveil the name of sports streaming venture Venue, VENU, Venue Sports. So Warner Brothers, Fox, ESPN, and Disney are introducing this new app called Venue, which they will bundle sports. Okay, that's one app I don't have to worry about buying, but you sports fans may want to. Google's accessibility app, you need to be on the lookout. You can use your phone's camera to find and recognize objects. It's also making wheelchair information on Google Maps available on desktop. So again, Google's updated some of the accessibility apps to add capabilities so it make them easier to use for people who need them. And it has rolled out a new version of the Lookout app, which can read text, even lengthy documents out loud for people with vision impaired. The app can also read food labels, recognize currency, and can tell users what it sees through the camera and in an image. Its latest version comes with a new Find mode that allows users to choose from 7 item categories, including seating, tables, vehicles, utensils, and bathrooms. So any of you use Lookout, I'd love to hear feedback on the device. It's very simple to send feedback to the show, geeknews@gmail.com. Of course, you can always hit me up on Twitter as well. It's being predicted that AI is going to help scientists in many, many ways. Starts with maybe new medicines, new theoretical conclusions. But scientists are using generative AI to answer complex questions in physics, a new technique that can automatically classify phases of physical systems could help scientists investigate novel materials. So, researchers from MIT, University of Basel in Switzerland, are using applied generative artificial intelligence to these types of problems. So, detecting phase transitions using AI and a whole bunch of other highly cool physics level stuff. And they're helping to improve the model that they're working with to do some of this basically detection and analysis. At the same time, researchers have built an AI-driven sarcasm detector. Never mind that AI can pass the bar exam, ace medical tests, and read bedtime stories with emotion, which the new ChatGPT 4.0, which is stands for Omni, is able to do. They're saying AI will never match the marvel of human mind without first mastering the art of sarcasm. Oh, really? But that art, it seems, may be next on the list of the tech. Dizzyingly capabilities. Researchers in the Netherlands built an AI-driven sarcasm detector. Oh, really? That can spot when the lowest form of wit. And the highest form of intelligence is being deployed. A little fun there, ladies and gentlemen. So they want to see how far they can push it in detecting sarcasm. Well, I tell you, one population that needs this, Japanese. They do not get sarcasm at all. That's why they don't laugh at American jokes. They don't get it. Japanese are not good at detecting sarcasm. So I hope they didn't use a Japanese model to train this thing for sarcasm, because it's just going to sit there and look at you with a blank face. Meta's oversight board will wade into the debate over political content on Threads. The group has accepted its first case involving a post on Threads. The case stems from a post by a Japanese user who is replying to a screenshot of a news article about Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and alleged tax evasion. The reply, according to the board, included several hashtags using the phrase "drop dead." Meta's content moderators removed the post, citing the company's rules against inciting violence. But was he really saying that, or was it sarcasm? Knowing Japanese, probably not. But anyway, they're going to look at this. I'm sure many of us have said things like, okay, just drop that. That's just sarcasm, right? There's different connotations, don't get me wrong. Apple's working on a touchscreen MacBook for 2025. Oh, please. Don't give me a touchscreen. The company's seriously considering producing touchscreens Macs for the first time, yet Apple may consider releasing its first touchscreen Mac in 2025 as part of a larger update for the MacBook Pro. If this happens, this move would defy the company's long-held orthodoxy, as Apple's repeatedly reject the idea of having Mac computers with touch capability, instead suggesting iPads as a better option. Yeah, I agree. One of the world's largest banks suffers a third-party data breach. I don't even know who this is. Santander? Where's Santander from? Santander, Chile, Spain, and Uruguay. So basically, if you are a Santander banking customer living in Spain, Chile, and Uruguay, you may have had your data stolen. Link will be in the show notes. I don't know if we've got anybody listening from Chile. Oftentimes, I've always complained about this too. Laptop webcams are pretty bad. And PC World has a great article about why they're so bad. And, literally, it's about the size. It's about the size, and, it's near the top of the laptop edge, so not very thick. You think about an iPhone camera. iPhone camera can be pretty wide and take up a lot of space, whereas on a laptop lid, not much room. So that's really the gist of it. If you're an AT&T customer, an AT&T deal will make every phone a satellite phone. Its partner with AST Space Mobile will launch its first 5 commercial satellites this summer. So this is under a memorandum of understanding that they signed in 2018. So you maybe have the option to ensure that you have access to cell service, even in typical dead zones, when this goes live with AST Space Mobile. All right, this can bring me here to the end, but we had no new donations to the show with one exception. We got 500 sats from Bisaya Podcast. So thank you so much. No note from in the boost. We definitely appreciate the boost. 500 sats from Bisaya Podcast, which Bisaya sounds a lot of Filipino to me. So we have had folks live streaming the show today. Darren Schwartz, thank you for live streaming on Fountain. Thank you for watching. Test Merck as well. Thank you for live streaming the show on Fountain and sending your sats per minute. Is greatly appreciated. Now, if you are now already an insider, we hope that you'll step up and become an insider with your $2, $5, $10, $15, $20, or $25 a month donation, or your one-time donation via the website at geekcentral.com/insider. It's been my pleasure to bring you a show today. And again, for those of you supporting our sponsor, GoDaddy, it's greatly appreciated. Any referral you make is just like writing a check to the show. It really is. It's truly like getting your pen or handing me money. It's the same thing every time you refer someone to my GoDaddy promo codes. So be proactive that and being a listener of this show. We thank you when you do that a great deal. Your recommendations allows us to do 6 degrees of separation because then your friends will then tell their friends when they know they need a online product. And I truly believe in the open internet. I truly believe in open RSS. I truly believe that we need to be able to maintain our own destiny and fight for what the internet is really about. We have to fight the monumental companies, Google, trying to change things and stifle search at some point. We have to fight back. We have to take control of the internet that was built for us to use and to thrive upon. It gets very scary when very few companies control Google, Facebook, when Twitter, etc. When very few companies control the information flow. Podcasts are the last bastion of free speech. And we are a web-based, open technology. And this is why, and part of the why, that I've continued to ask you folks to go to podcastapps.com and try a new podcast app. Give it a run for the money. Test one. Listen to this show on that app. You don't have to listen via Apple Podcasts like 54% of you do. You can listen on Fountain. Help us take control of what we have built here as a communication mechanism that cannot be silenced. Because when the big guys come in and change things up, they're going to present to you information that they want you to know. They're going to step on the scales like they always have. We, as internet net citizens, need to make sure this stays open and that the viability of having a website and having traffic to it continues to allow us free will here. We'll see what the future holds. And again, I'm going to be off for a number of shows, largely because of travel. If you're in the UK, drop me a note. I'd love to meet. If you're in London, I'm going to the podcast show. So that's the area I'm going to be in. You can Google it, look at the website. My presentation is in all 55 slides in 40 minutes. And again, open podcasting, open RSS, ladies and gentlemen, is what has allowed me to do what I have done here and wherever I'm at to produce this podcast to bring to you as an open standard. This is why we want you to be utilizing apps that are supporting the expansion of this open standard at podcastapp.com. Okay. See you in a few weeks. It's been my pleasure to bring you a show. Everyone take care. Be safe out there. Take care of one another. And I'll be back with you. Maybe it's a surprise edition in the middle of all this. But again, thank you for your ongoing loyalty to this show. And we'll be back in a few weeks. Everyone take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.